Hey, everybody, welcome to Real United States. We're working for the studio this week, at least largely. Hopefully, we're going to get out tomorrow and start shooting some more stuff in the field. But what I needed to talk to you about today really is almost impossible to do in the field. And I will show you why. Take a look at this map. This big orange rectangle that you see is called the National Radio Quiet Zone. And that is, in fact, 13,000 square miles, roughly, of the United States, which, at least in theory, has a ban on many electronic transmissions, Wi-Fi, and radio broadcasting, and cell phones, and microwave ovens, and all kinds of things that give off EM pulses. Now, that is, again, in theory. In practice, that's bullplop. Okay, let me show you another map here. Now, I'm not sure how clear this is going to come out when I go ahead and do this in post, but you're going to see a city right here called Harrisonburg, and that is a city of 52,000 people in Virginia, in the western part of Virginia, that lies inside of in the National Radio Quiet Zone. Okay, let me tell you, folks, there's no way a city of 52,000 people is functioning without Wi-Fi and without cell phones and without broadcasts and all those sorts of things, without microwave ovens. It's just not happening. However, if you notice the little red circle in that map, I'll show it to you again. That is actually the area around Green Bank, West Virginia, which is where the National Radio Astronomy Observatory is. And that is the reason for this entire quiet zone. And you notice it doesn't say silent zone or banned zone, it's a quiet zone. Electronic transmissions, the closer you get to the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, the more strict the requirements become. But they're restricted. I think there's only one or two actual radio broadcasting stations in this entire area, and they use what are called directional broadcast antennas to try and point away from the radio telescope that's mounted in Green Bank. And this telescope, this facility, has basically two purposes. One, of course, is scientific research, as you would suspect, for radio telescope observation, and the other is they receive, as I'm given to understand from public record, transmission communications through for the United States Navy. So this has a dual purpose, and obviously we don't want to interrupt those signals. But if you see any other YouTube videos, you read articles about this, if you happen to stumble on this and go, you're kidding me, there's 13,000 square miles of the United States that's, Wi-Fi is banned, it's not really to the extent that the articles make it sound. And again, it gets stricter with, if you get within 2 miles of the observatory, yeah, they get pretty concerned about it. But 40 miles out, it's not near so strict. In and around the observatory, they do things like put Faraday cages around microwave ovens, so you can still use the microwave oven, but it doesn't give off any EM interference. I'm not going to try and explain what a Faraday cage is, but just trust me, it's a thing for blocking electric signals. If you've ever been to a science museum, especially kids' science museums, they got a Tesla coil, big thing that gives off basically artificial lightning, and it goes against this cage. Well, that's a Faraday cage. Okay, I don't know, maybe that helps you understand. So I'm given to understand that this whole big tract of America was actually set aside as this radio quiet zone in 1958, and probably in 1958, which is like before I was born, even. It wasn't quite such a big deal. Transistors were a new invention in 1958. So transistor radios, things like that. We were still using tubes, vacuum tubes in most electronic equipment like radios and televisions. back in the late 50s and well into the 60s. Solid state sorts of things did not come along until much later in the late 60s, early 70s. So this was probably not such a big deal, but with the advancement of technology, I'm certain it's become a lot bigger headache for the observatory and for the people who live in that area. Interestingly enough, quite a number of people report a sensitivity to electronic emissions. Don't write any hate down in the comment section, folks. Whether that sensitivity is real or imagined, it doesn't matter. To these people, it's very real. And so many people have moved to this area to try and escape the consequences, the effects that impulses, electromagnetic fields seem to have on them, and many report that it has relieved the distress that they've been under. If it works, do it, right? I mean, what's the harm? But the fact of the matter is that, and I did see one YouTube video by three young fellows who are actually from Britain, who called the whole thing bollocks, which is their equivalent of BS. Because they went to one town where it had there was like 3 McDonald's in the town that had Wi-Fi. So, yeah, it's, even though they claim that it's banned, it's no, it's not really totally banned. And they do have, closest to the facility, they do have trucks that go out and scan for errant, if you will, radio frequencies. And if they find one and, like somebody has, not been thinking and they bought a new microwave or something, they will stop and they will talk to you. It's not like you get fined or you get put in prison or anything. It's not. They try to work with people to keep the emissions as low as possible. So it's, again, don't believe everything that you may have heard or read about this area of the United States. And, it's the size of a state. It's bigger than several states. Chunk of the United States. Don't necessarily believe everything that you've heard about it. Now, yes, we did think about actually driving the 3-hour drive or so out to Harrisonburg, and we may for other reasons, but there's no way I can show you the pieces of this whole area. It would take me the better part of 2 weeks to travel all around this. And while it's a beautiful part of the country, I don't think that there's anything that would be there that would contribute to the idea that this is a federally restricted area for electronic emissions. So anyway, for those of you who didn't already know about it, certainly there's tons of information out there about it. You can go out and look, but take all of it with a grain of salt and be sure you're using, reputable sources. And if you got questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below. I certainly love hearing from all of you. I'm not an expert on this particular subject, but I can certainly try and help answer your questions, or just stop in and say hi, guys, because I love hearing from all of you. This is how we build a community. Say hi to each other. That's fine too. I'm really pleased with the way the community is growing recently, and we're starting to to really get our feet under us. So that's wonderful. If you're new here, hey folks, well, welcome. And we don't usually work from the studio. Usually we're out in the field showing you the scenes from America, but right now for personal reasons, I have to be working in the studio. But pick subscribe. Come along for the adventure. We certainly have lots more to show you. And as always, folks, thank you for watching.